Hey, everybody, I'm Dr. John Sherk, and this is Brown Bag Lunch. It's Wednesday at 11 every week. I'm coming to you with all manner of strategies and tactics and paradigms to help you build a great life as a technician, whether you are a tech yourself or you employ a technician or you love somebody who is a tech and can support them. Um, we've been talking a little bit about happiness, and again, I have these conversations throughout the week, and then I come do this thing with you all, and I do my podcast, and I get this kind of consistent conversation going. And here's I just want to make this one comment. um if you get these and you're a technician or you're a service manager, I realize that some of what I'm saying sounds a little bit soft, right? um I'm not giving you advice on tools or like that kind of stuff, right? But the thing is, you have that accessible to you. You have people who can coach you on the technical side of the business. There's other My thing is, I don't think there's another one of me, at least right now, and I'd be happy for there to be 10 of me because it makes the whole process easier to get done. I'm not really here to, you know, be one of the only one on the planet. Um, I just see the need for these conversations to happen, so I'm just coming out here and initiating them. But I think there's a need for doctors to talk about technician health. I think there's a need for um, philosophers to talk about finding meaning as a technician, and uh, maybe this will all really work the way I hope it will, and what I do can maybe be a hub for those voices, but somebody's got to get it started. And so I just want you to know that if what I present to you sounds like, well, I want to be happier, I don't know if I'm happy. I know I know enough technicians now that some percentage of you is going to say to me, well, I'm not sure happy is the point, John. I got work to do. Don't distract me from my work by talking about happiness. I get it, right? So some of what I want to talk about today are the big 7 channels through which a thriving life occurs. Okay? So it isn't just a matter of I've got butterflies in my stomach, so it's a I'm happy in life. That's really not what I'm saying. I'm saying that life is more complicated than a momentary thrill. And so some parts of happiness you can get today. Some of them you have to work on for a number of years before they're accessible to you. Okay. So these big 7, and if you have a pencil handy, you may want to write them down just so you don't kind of lose it in the flow of all of this, or just listen for the one that you feel like needs the most attention in your life. Okay. So these are the 7 channels of finding a thriving life. Number 1 is meaning, right? This is where you feel like you're really contributing to something greater than yourself. Now, you can find this in a kind of religious way where there's something really like a God and the planet and all of that. Or you can just say, look, I'm not just going to work for me, I'm going to work for my family. And my family is bigger than me, it's more important than me. I'm in charge of it, but they're more important than I am. And in that way, find meaning in the work that you do. So the question here is really, it's a gut level question. I don't have a instrument here. It's just saying, do you feel like you are thriving when it comes to meaning in life? You can be kind of starved of meaning simply because you're so stressed out about finances, you just don't have any time to think about meaning. It could be that as well, right? But that's the question. Do you find a feeling of thriving, a sense of thriving in the area of meaning? Number 2 is accomplishment. This is where you go from job to career. This is where you're seeing an outcome directly produced by your knowledge, your skills, your abilities. Do you feel like on some regular basis and as a flow of your whole life, accomplishment is there, or do you feel stalled? Okay. This is another, and I'm by feeling, I'm not talking about, yay, I feel a certain way. It's a perception of yourself. Is your judgment about yourself, your assessment of yourself, that you're accomplishing, and therefore I feel good about that. I'm thriving in that context, or I'm not. Right. Number 3 is security. This is where you're finding freedom from routine fight or flight responses. This is the opposite of bad stress. Do you feel like you're constantly at risk of losing your job? Do you feel like you're constantly crossing your fingers that there's enough money at the end of the month? Do you feel like you're constantly crossing your fingers that your family doesn't fall apart. Like, do what degree do you feel thriving because you have security, right? That's number three. Number four is your health. And I define this one as having at least enough energy and physical capacity for all the aspects of your life, right? You say, look, I'm still doing okay. I can still climb around in an attic. Okay. But what happens when you want to go home and play with your kids and grandkids? Do you still have some left? So is health a zone where you're thriving or you're really not? Again, listen to the list of four. We've done meaning, accomplishment, security, and health so far. Is one jumping out at you is where you need to start paying attention. Number five is what I'm calling engagement. And this is where you're routinely engaging in work with a feeling of total focus, feeling of like, you're just so engaged that it feels like this timeless thing is happening because you're so in the zone, because you're doing this thing that you're very good at doing, right? I said earlier, there's some of these you don't get access to right away. And if you're in your early 20s and listening to this, please believe me, it is worth the time to get good at your craft because once you're good, it feels great to do it, but it doesn't at first. It doesn't. It feels crappy. It feels like, the adult version of learning to walk and asking a lot of questions, feeling embarrassed because you don't know already. And people are looking at you like, you don't know this and you work here. But look, if you want to feel great, and this is one of the core areas where, man, if you make the investment, this is really an important one. So take the time, make the investment to get good. And then a whole component, if you work 8 hours a day, we're talking about 8 hours of your life every day, a third of your life. Another third of it is sleeping. So if you're if you're able to feel great at your work because you're good at it, that's this one. And so that's my question. Do you on a regular basis feel like you're able to do what you do best to the point that you feel pleasure from that and you're thriving as a result? Number six is relationships. And this is having all the love and companionship as well as isolation time that you need without excessive sacrifice or compromise. Now, I've read other literature, academic stuff. I come out of a PhD. I come out of a research background, so I've read stuff that says, well, you need this many hours a week with your spouse in order for your relationship to thrive. And I kind of don't buy that because not everybody's the same. If you uh I'm not saying that there couldn't be some standards that could help you come to terms and agree on what you're going to do with your time together or all that stuff. But in a relationship, it really comes down to you saying, am I getting what I need from this? And them saying to you, are they getting what they need from this? And is it costing us too much to make that happen? So in some relationships, you can get the love that you need, but by the time it feels like by the time I've paid the price to make this happen, it's just not even worth it. Right. So if you're thriving in your relationships, what you need from the relationship, you're getting. What they need from you, they're getting. And it's not costing an excessive amount to make that happen. So are you thriving in your relationships? Last, I'm calling this delight. There are some happiness researchers, some really foundational OGs of happiness research that uh, make one of these components positive emotion. And I don't like that one because it's not just emotion. Delight has to do with fun and pleasures from very simple to very defined activities. Delight happens because you hear an amazing piece of music. I experienced this isn't music, this is television, but just real talk, real time. I'm watching this show right now on TV on Amazon called Daisy Jones and the Six, and I'm so enjoying this television show. I'm just enjoying it. Now, here's the thing. I'm not sure I would have enjoyed it 20 years ago because over time I've tried to get better at appreciating what I put in front of me. And it's a super, in my opinion, it's super smart, well done production. And I'm not sure I would have appreciated it the same way 20 years ago. There are meals right now. My wife and I are a little bit of foodies. There are meals right now that I really appreciate that I would not have appreciated 20 years ago. Because if you'd have told me there was this thing called goat cheese, I'd have said, yuck, I don't want to eat part of that. Now I love it. Okay. Now, what's the point of that? Delight is an evolution of your capacity to appreciate what's in front of you and get pleasure from it. Okay. Music, food, architecture, literature, um, to some degree, just being outside, hunting, fishing. The idea here is that you're developing a taste for things. Now, why is this important? You can also find short term enjoyment in excess. If you say, look, if you're the kind of person, this is probably not healthy, but if you're the kind of person who says, hey, 5 beers is great, 6 is better, 7's better than 6, and 8's better than 7. There is a version of delight, but it has a kind of half life on it. You need more and more of it in order to still feel delight, or you have to develop your palate for things and enjoy things more and more so that you're saying goodbye to uh, what was delightful 10 years ago and saying hello to a next level of what feels delightful today. Okay. The one goes down a path of addiction, the other goes down a path of feeling delight in all kinds of things. All right. So that's the seventh one. Are you experiencing thriving through the channel of delight? And here's the 7 again: meaning, accomplishment, security, health, engagement, relationships, and delight. Now, what do I do with this? Pick one of those 7 that is your 7th out of 7. It's lagging behind. And just take a look at it and say, what do I need to do to thrive here? What do I need to change? What perspective do I need to start having that I don't? How do I need to reorganize my time? And take one of those areas where you're not thriving and decide, I'm going to put together my plan to thrive in this area, and then get started. Okay. If you want to talk about this more, I'd love to get on a Zoom call with you, talk you through it, especially if you're a technician. I am, for as many technicians I talk to, I just have no shortage of desire to talk to y'all. So please feel free. Sometimes I talk to techs and they'll say, well, I'm just a tech. And I'm like, you're my people. I mean, please reach out. Also, if you want to be on my podcast, what I want and need more of are real world, real time technicians who just want to talk about life as a technician on my podcast, HVAC Joy Lab. So please feel free to comment below or reach out to me in whatever way makes sense for you. Let's get on a Zoom call. Let's talk to each other and get to know each other. All right. My name is Dr. John Sherk. This has been Brown Bag Lunch, and I will see you next week.